Chalk another one up in the win column for the Buffalo Bills as they improve to 4-0, 31-19 over the Saints, a New Orleans team that came to play. I'm Kevin Carroll alongside Andy Young. This is the Buffalo End Zone Podcast, Andy, and I want to be positive. I have a positive vibe today. There's a lot of negative we can take away from this game, but when all is said and done, Josh Allen delivers as you would expect. And the defense came up with stops when they really needed to, although there's a lot to dissect in this one because it was not as easy as it should have been.
Look, this is another game, and I said it right after the game on our post-game show, where the Bills are heavy favorites, like more than 2 touchdown favorites to beat a team. And that's really hard to do in the NFL. We saw it last week with the Bills against Miami, and it's a little close for comfort for some Bills fans and probably coaches on the sidelines and players alike. But at the end of the day, they still win by double digits, and they do what they have to do to get the win and improve to 4-0. We watch all these games on Red Zone come right down to the wire between good teams, bad teams. It doesn't matter. And the Bills, besides that opener against Baltimore, who we know is a very good team, have kind of cruised. Even though it has been close at moments during the games, they pull away. And I am of the same mindset as you, Kevin, because during the game, you notice the negatives and you're feeling like, man, the run defense, the third down defense, the offensive lulls. But I think there's a lot of positives to take from this game, and it's another case where you take care of business on home turf. Now 14 straight regular season wins at home. And again, you do it by 12 points, even though maybe Las Vegas said you were supposed to do it by 14, right? Yeah. Okay, big deal.
I know one of the big takeaways I get from this, Andy, and that I've brought up before to you and on this podcast is it seems like the Bills' offense, when it feels it needs to do something, it can do it. I mean, we're in the second half. It's a little too close. And I'm saying to myself, this is a Josh Allen moment right here. Josh Allen has to do a Josh Allen thing. And then he takes the ball and just plants his foot and goes right up the middle. And to be honest with you, it ended up setting up the Dalton Kincaid touchdown. But there were times during that run, Andy, where it looked like Josh Allen could have kept going and got in himself. But you're right, there are these lulls that happen offensively during the game. And it all seems to be around the second quarter.
Yeah, they got off to a fast start. They scored a touchdown on their opening drive once again, went down on their second drive and scored, and it looks like just what we talked about. Maybe the Bills can name their score and put up 40-something in this game. And then they kind of slow things down, and they get to the run game, and they do what they want to do in that regard. And it ends up being what I call low-event football, where you run only 57 plays. You're running the football. You're not throwing the football a ton. You're not putting it in harm's way, besides Josh throwing 1 interception for the first time in a long time on a deep pass to Keon Coleman, the infamous arm punt, right, on a third and long play. But when you're doing that and you're not airing it out and you're running the football or trying to run the football, and then the other team is doing the same thing against your defense, it's not going to leave a lot of time to blow people's doors off. And you're going to have games that are close. But then that's the difference with this Bills team is, like you said, it's like those old Chicago Bulls teams. And when they talked about the Lakers getting in playoff mode, you can turn it on when you need to. So far this season, every time they've needed to bury an opponent, they do. And Josh Allen does it. James Cook kind of paces the thing throughout the course. I do wonder if they might be better served sometimes of putting the throttle down on teams early and airing it out more. Josh was hot through those first couple of drives. I think he was 6 for 6 at one point. He was doing really well. And then all of a sudden you look up and he's only had 16 pass attempts. And you're like, man, they could have maybe done more through the air. It looked like they could own them. But this is a team that likes to try to establish that running game. And the results, you can only complain about it so much when they're 4-0 and James Cook is setting franchise records for running efficiency in some of these games.
Yeah, and James Cook sets the mark for his 8th touchdown on the ground, franchise record in a row. I mean, and there's some big names there, Andy, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, like, He's gone over 100 yards and with a rushing touchdown in 3 straight games. And I think Thurman Thomas in 1991 was the last guy to do that. And we know number 34 won the NFL MVP this season. And James Cook has vaulted himself right into that star conversation. He has vaulted himself into becoming one of the best running backs in the NFL. And you might look at it right now like his new contract might be a deal for the Bills. Obviously, he's got to keep it up through the next several years. But the way he is playing right now, the way he's setting up blockers, the way he is commanding snaps and commanding the workload, which was one of the questions going into the summer about his contract was, could he be a workhorse running back, and do you want to pay a guy who only takes 40, 50% of the snaps? Well, he's doing better than that now. And he's asserting himself as a dominating force behind that offensive line and behind Jackson Hawes and Dalton Kincaid, who's come along as a blocker, and Dawson Knox, and really establishing himself and establishing the identity of this team. One thing we've talked about so often, does Brandon Beane draft enough stars, the difference makers, as Sean McDermott called it? We've kind of criticized him at times. A lot of people have, fans, media, national observers. Look, James Cook is becoming a star in this league.
Oh, yeah. And you mentioned being a workhorse, Andy, and he's not that power back. He's not that guy who's just going to go in, but he is slippery and so much fun to watch get through that line that it honestly looks like he could bust one at any moment for a huge gain or a huge touchdown or something like that, that it's exciting when he gets the ball. I mean, I know everyone loves the big passing attack and all that stuff, but man, you sit there and you think what James Cook is able to do in that element, and we've talked about this before, who are the big stars on the Bills offense? Well, it's Josh Allen, and James Cook is right behind him.
Absolutely. Cook is right there. And like for large stretches of these games, the offense runs through James Cook. They kind of take the air out of the football. It's not running through Josh Allen. It's going through James Cook. And how can you complain about that when it's 7, 9, 6, 1, 15, 11, and he's averaging at times in the game 10 yards a carry, right? Like, that's old school football that you want to be able to just pound the rock and impose your will on people. And then when you need it, whether that's opening drives, whether that's late in the game, you've got the MVP. You've got Josh Allen, who can just say, all right, you've creeped back into this one. We're going to finish you off, and I'm going to do it myself. And that's the beauty of this team at this point, especially offensively. Again, yes, I think there are more opportunities to attack through the air. Our guy, Stevie Johnson, on the post-game show said, I really need more. I need to see more. I need to get the receivers more involved. Elijah Moore, Joshua Palmer, get these guys moving a little bit more. But the way the Bills are playing football right now, they don't see it as necessary. They might need those guys at some point, but with the way the schedule sets up, I don't know.
Yeah, Stevie was very passionate during the postgame show, especially when it came to Joshua Palmer. And Andy, Joshua Palmer, when he is looked to, delivers. So it's kind of head-scratching. I know there's this everybody eats mentality. Right now it looks like Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman are the ones eating the most. But I do expect more from Palmer. And who knows, as we move down the road and they have to kind of switch up and go to different people, different players out there. And then Curtis Samuel back there had one target, Andy, but now you see him up and you see him operating, and he's part of the mix now.
Yeah, I mean, it's tiresome, but it's everybody eats. When Josh Allen only throws 22 passes, I think he maybe dropped back 25 times because he was sacked a few times. Like, there's only so many footballs to go around. I mean, Shakir 5 catches, Coleman 3, Kincaid 1, the big touchdown, and he's been really good leading into this, but he didn't get a whole lot of looks this game, but did get that long touchdown that was huge for this team. Palmer had a couple of catches early, 2 catches. Cook gets a few. Hawes gets 1. Samuel gets 1. And Dawson Knox was targeted once. So, I mean, when you're only throwing it that many times and you don't need to throw the ball 40, 50 times, you're not going to have guys getting 8, 9, 10 catches and over 100 yards. It's just not going to happen. Think back to the Baltimore game when they did have to pass the ball. Big passes to Coleman, big passes to Palmer. Those guys were heavily involved. So I think it's just a matter of game script and the way the Bills want to play these teams, that these wide receivers aren't going to be heavily involved all the time. There is the risk you run. It's receivers, right? It's hard to get those guys to buy in and run full speed down the field or go out there and block when they're probably not going to get the ball. That's that team effort that they need these guys to buy into. So far, so good, but I would like to see, like Stevie said, more involvement from some of these guys. There will be games where they probably have to.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to get to next. You know, there will be fans out there right now that are not happy. They're happy that the Bills are 4-0. They're not happy that they went out against a team that hadn't won a game yet and let them hang around for the entirety of the game, seeing all the things, the issues that we see week after week after week. The getting off the field on third down, I think that's slightly improved, but stopping the run game, containing the quarterback, Andy, I don't even know if the Bills were ready for Spencer Rattler to do what he did, because he looked like Lamar Jackson in there ripping off yards on the ground whenever he wanted.
Yeah, there are concerns there. There is still the lingering issue of stopping the run. But I've said this in the past. They almost invite teams to run the football against them because of the way they play defense, and that we're not going to get beat with big plays. The problem is when you run into a Derrick Henry or somebody like that, if they run into Jonathan Taylor or some of these different great backs, Saquon Barkley later in the season, that can turn those into 70-yard runs instead of 15 or 20. That's the key issue. And yeah, getting off the field on third down's a little better this week, but they've got to figure out a way to stop those quarterback scrambles, because Tua did it to them. Obviously, Lamar can do it to them. But at the same time, Spencer Rattler only throws for 126 yards. That's not a ton. Kamara runs for 70. Keandre Miller, 65, so that's 135. And then another 55 from Rattler and Shaheed. So that's more than you'd like to see, obviously, but it kind of plays into the way the Bills play defense, the bend don't break and don't get beat over the top.
Yeah, let's stick with that defense. I mean, let's be fair. No Matt Milano, no Ed Oliver out there. We did get to see Jordan Phillips a little bit, which is always nice to see.
Getting the crowd fired up, right?
Right. So there is that, but I just want to give a shout out to Cole Bishop with all the stuff that he's been going through, as far as people not thinking he's the answer, that it was a bad draft pick by the Bills a couple of years ago to go get the guy. He ends up turning up one of the best plays of the game at one of the most crucial moments in the game, in an interception that probably turned the tide on what was about to happen, because at that point, Andy, going towards the end of the first half, when Bishop ultimately gets that interception, it didn't look like the Bills' defense was ever going to stop the Saints' offense, and it was lucky you jumped out to that lead, and Josh Allen can just keep the team ahead.
Yeah, Bishop, credit where credit is due. 5 tackles on the day, and obviously just a massive interception there. As the Saints are driving, they're inside the 5-yard line. They go to a trick play and try to score a touchdown, and he makes this leaping interception to stop that from happening. And that was a huge swing, because if they give up a touchdown or perhaps a field goal towards the end of the first half, then they get the ball to start the second half. That could be trouble, right? Like, the Bills usually make adjustments in the second half, both offensively and defensively, but you never know. I mean, you don't want to be trailing at that point to the Saints. That just isn't a good spot to be in. So credit for him to come through and make a big play. I think that's only going to help boost his confidence and boost the team's confidence in him. I don't think the coaches are really lacking in confidence, or they wouldn't have him out there. Right. They'd go to DeMar Hamlin, right? Or they would go to Cam Lewis, whatever that might be. So I think he's been fine. And that's the kind of athleticism that you need to see from a guy when they drafted him. That's the reason that they did that rangy athleticism. Not a massive guy, but he's bigger than some of them that they have. So to be able to go out there and make a play like that at a critical moment for your team, that's a huge step forward for Cole Bishop.
One-handed interception, too. I brought up Odell Beckham Jr. to Stevie, and Stevie goes, No, that's if you're in the end zone. If it's in the field of play, that's a Stevie Johnson kind of catch. So I'll give him credit where credit's due.
If I'm the Saints there, I don't know that I want to run a trick play there. Like, either take the points and get 3 or score a touchdown the old-fashioned way. Give it to Kamara because he's tearing them up, right? So that was kind of a mistake on their part. I don't hate the idea of trick plays, but you were almost guaranteed points there, and that took them off the board.
And you didn't need to do that, Andy.
Right.
The Saints were doing whatever they wanted to do. They even proved it later on in the game in the second half on that touchdown to, was it Olave or?
Yeah, Chris Olave.
Yeah. So it was a head scratcher. I get it. You haven't won a game. You need to I don't see pulling out the bag of tricks right there. And the fact that Bishop just read it the whole way, like, oh, I know what this is going to be, because he took off from where he was, which it looked like the play was going in that direction, and got to where he needed to be. Also, Andy, you're also putting the ball in a wide receiver's hands to throw a touchdown pass.
Right, and that's a case, too, where I don't think Olave saw him coming because Bishop was going so fast from a pretty far spot away from where that started to get there and read it. So kudos to Cole Bishop. That was just a great play. If you're Olave, they probably teach him, hey, if it's not there, either just throw it away out the back of the end zone or try to run it yourself. Yeah. He probably didn't see Cole Bishop the way he shot out of a cannon to come across and make that play. Spectacular stuff.
Absolutely. Awesome there. Andy, is there concerns with Tre'Davious White? We saw him not in the game at certain points, and Dorian Strong was back out there. Do you think there's some concern there with Tre'Davious White?
Look, he had a couple of penalties. He had a couple of holds early, and he was kind of jawing with the refs and kind of going back and forth to the referees after some things happened. And maybe he just needed a minute to kind of take a step back. And I do think they like Dorian Strong, and I think they wanted to give him some reps. Sean McDermott said that, hey, we want to get some of these young guys on the field to see what our team looks like when they're out there, to kind of switch things up. He mentioned that about some of the roster moves, too, with having Brandon Codrington inactive and bringing up Curtis Samuel finally to be active for the game. And then kind of switching that little rotation, giving Dorian Strong a couple of series. And maybe you want to see if he's better than Trey White, because teams are obviously, when they're throwing to the receivers, going to go towards Trey White because Christian Benford is so darn good on the other side. And Trey, while he has been a great player, has a lot to prove, right? He's not probably the same player he was in 2018, 2019, 2020 when he's an all-pro caliber player. Certainly serviceable, and it doesn't hurt them to take a look at these other guys. And then obviously you've got Maxwell Hairston working his way back. Who knows when he'll be back? He's actually eligible to come back this coming week, coming off IR. I don't see that happening because he's still in a brace. He's not practiced with the team yet. But if that progresses too, I mean, maybe they want to give a shot to these younger guys just because they know what they have in Trey, but maybe there's a higher ceiling with some of these other younger guys.
Bills avoided what looked bad for a little bit with Terrell Bernard getting stepped on during a play. And Bernard, a big part of what the Bills were able to do right in this game. Would have been a blow there. Return, finish the game. I'm sure there'll be some updates on him throughout the week that are going to make Bills fans
It actually
panic.
looked like his shoe came off, and that might have been the issue he was dealing with. I don't know if he could get his shoe back on. But
was he just sitting on the field trying to put his shoe on?
Yeah, it was like stuck under his, like, you know how the heel of the shoe gets folded down and you can't, and they've got tape and all this stuff and
Don't I know?
thick socks. So, so hopefully for the Bills, it's just that he, got stepped on, couldn't get his shoe back on, had to come out, because he did go right back out there after that. And he was a factor in this game, a sack and getting after the quarterback, not a sack, but forcing an incompletion there. That was intentional grounding, and then pressuring otherwise on the blitz. So, I mean, he was impactful in this game. Obviously, you still need more from him and Dorian Williams and the rest of the crew in the run game, but I think they kind of stemmed the tide there in the second half, that regard. And then, he's able to make plays. So when he's flying around and instinctive, he's a really good, fast, heat-seeking missile out there. And then, they don't have Milano, like you mentioned earlier. And I think they were hurting without Ed Alver. They have been hurting without Ed Alver because he's been really good.
You know who else I noticed during the game was Deion Walker, the rookie, Andy.
Yeah.
Two tackles for a loss in this game. I mean, for a guy coming out that was dealing with injury, 4 games in, Andy, he's the part that they were looking for, it seems.
Yeah, he's getting better and better and better every week out there. He's very impactful. You just see him shooting through gaps, eating up blocks, doing the things that he needs to do. Of course, as a young player, anybody on this team, not just the young guys, there's room to improve, and McDermott will constantly say that. But man, have I liked what I've seen. Kind of the explosiveness, the ability to dominate at times from Deion Walker. Haven't seen that so much from TJ Sanders, and it's early. You want to see more out of Sanders, but Deion Walker, for his part, has a chance to be a really, really good player if he can stay healthy, if he can continue to learn and grow and understand the way defenses are going to play him, understand what the Bills expect of him. They may have found a diamond in the rough for a guy that was a 4th-round pick, but you have to remember, before he had that back injury, which was basically a fracture in his lumbar spine, when I talked to him in training camp, he said, there wasn't a day I wasn't in pain in my senior year in college. That really hampered him because a lot of scouts and talent evaluators thought after his junior year at Kentucky, he could have been a 1st-round pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, with Codrington not dressing for this game, is there concern there? I mean, I was thinking during camp that maybe a spot would open up for someone else with the new kicking rules, and now they have Sanders back there and Khalil Shakir returning punts.
Samuel. Yeah.
Yeah. Dang it!
Not TJ Sanders or Emmanuel Sanders.
Oh, I can't make it through one podcast without screwing that up. But Andy, yeah, there it is. And the Bills went to that at times last year. I remember Khalil Shakir returning punts as well. But does this say that maybe they might be moving on from this?
Yeah, I mean, look, he had a fumble last week against the Dolphins that he recovered, and you know that Sean McDermott is not putting up with that, right? Like, that job is, number one, is catch the football. Don't put your team in a bad spot by fumbling, muffing a kick. And he did that last week. So then it's like, all right, we're going to sit you down. We're going to see what we look like with 6 wide receivers, and we're going to put the sure-handed Shakir back there who they trust. That's the bottom line, and we'll see if he gets out of that doghouse.
Andy, hang with me. I'm going to the YouTube page. I think we got some comments here.
Okay.
In the
that.
In the meantime, Andy, the beast that is the 3 tight end look for the Bills that we've all been talking about, at least catching wise, we didn't see anything until Jackson Hawes had a catch late in the game, and then of course Kincaid showed up with his 1 catch. I thought we'd be seeing more of them.
Yeah, Robert Wilson here says the defense has lots of challenges. Joe Brady should stop being conservative. McDermott and Brady don't like fast-paced games. Bean doesn't draft stars on defense. So Robert A. Wilson coming at it in the chat here at the Bills. I mean, I don't blame fans who are a little bit upset with the way some of these games go. I think fans want to see explosive offense. They want to see a defense that is dominant, that you have seen at times under McDermott, not always in the playoffs, but regular seasons, remember, they're top 5 often, and that seems to have declined over the past year and a half. And yeah, there's certainly criticism that can be levied there, but at the end of the day, you're looking at a 4-0 team that, besides the Baltimore game, has won by double digits every time.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it could have just been the simple fact of let's just get by the Saints and move on as the season rolls along, Andy. But it is concerning when you are 4 games into the season and you have better competition that you're going to be playing down the road, that you can't afford to have games like you did today in the game against the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Patriots coming to town who crushed their opponent today. They're looking better. I think you have to always look to improve those things. And I'm not saying they're not concerns. I think they are. I'm usually the one who talks mostly about the concerns when there are issues. And I think that they'll figure it out. Some of this is just who they are, and that's not necessarily going to be good enough in those big spots. So they've got to get that figured out, no doubt about it. I'm with Robert A. Wilson and whomever else has criticism for the defense, the lulls in the offense, lack of distribution to wide receivers, coaching decisions, all of those things. I am on board, and you can do both at the same time. You can marvel at how great this team can be while also knowing there's more that's out there that might hold them back from reaching the ultimate goals.
Sometimes, though, you just need to grind out a game. It's either the matchup is bad no matter what the records are, or, you know, you're not used to playing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon because you're playing in prime time all the time, so you're groggy or whatever, Andy. But those concerns that were brought up are repeating themselves, which is why when you and I talk, I want to see a game where the Bills just go out and say, you know what, we're going to try and be balanced, but we're going to throw the ball all over the field and just run out to a big lead, because I think this offense can do that whenever they want to do it.
I agree, but I don't think they have to. They have not shown they've had to. When they've had to do it, they've turned it on and they've done it. So, you know,
eventually that's going to burn you. Eventually,
yeah, but they've been so much better at taking care of the football. All this criticism this week, Josh Allen was asked again, why don't you take shots down the field? Well, he takes a shot down the field. Guess what happened? It got picked off.
Andy, when that happened, do you think that because of all that talk that they never do it, and what the Seahawks were able to do to the Saints the week before, that they were just like, to hell with it, we're going to take our chances in this one and see if it works?
I think it's fine to take a shot, and that's going to happen sometimes. I don't have any criticism about them taking that shot down the field towards Keon Coleman. Let your big play wide receiver try to go up and get one on a third down play. Again, arm punt sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they heard the I don't know if heard the criticism is the right thing, but I think they understand that there could be more out there going deep downfield. But at the same time, they've been so successful over the last season and plus, now 4 games of this season, of getting Josh to just play free and not force the ball and live to play another down, whether he needs to check down and take 5 or go for a shot. So it's hard to argue with those results. It's hard to say, like, oh my God, go out there and put up 400 every game and do what you did when Brian Dable first came on the scene and you got Diggs and you threw the ball over the field. That was so fun and so exciting. So exciting. But they're winning games this way too, you know?
And your record's 4-0, and
right.
It looks
like, I know it sounds like we're talking out of both sides of our mouths here, but we are, because that's the truth. Both things are true. You'd like to see them be more explosive through the air. You'd like to see them bury teams quicker, not let bad teams hang around. You'd like them to stop the run better and get off third downs. But here we sit, right? They're 4-0, and like Allen's still in the MVP conversation. James Cook probably should be too.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're going to have to figure some of those things out, because you're right, it probably will bite them in the divisional round against the Chiefs, right? That's when it'll happen.
No one wants to hear you say that here at the beginning of the season, 1 month in, and they're 4-0, Andy.
Chiefs, by the way, rocking the Ravens right now.
Yeah, the Chiefs are back.
As we record this.
Yeah.
Chiefs are back. Worthy's back. Good luck, everybody.
Andy,
they heard the criticism.
Talk about discipline, Andy, and the Saints are a young team with a new coach, Spencer Rattler, yada, yada, yada. Special teams errors in this one for the Saints also played a big role in the Bills getting this W. You have a kickoff that didn't land in the landing zone, and then you had a roughing the punter late in the game too that really cost the Saints, and it was just some undisciplined football.
And shout out to Cameron Johnston for coming back in and taking the hold on the field goal late, right? That guy got got roughed up in the leg. I saw him afterwards. He's walking with a limp, and he's got a brace on. We'll see what happens there with Cameron Johnston, the punter. But yeah, I think some self-inflicted wounds for the Saints in this game, and that's the difference between good teams and bad teams, right? Like, a bad team's going to do those things. A good team will capitalize on it.
So here we go, moving forward, Andy. It's back in prime time for the next couple of weeks. You got the Patriots coming to town and Sunday night football, and then they have a Monday night game down in Atlanta. And right now, we'll get into this more during the week, but the Patriots and how they're approaching their offense look like they might be a problem for the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, they were rolling in this. What was the final score of that game today?
I thought the Patriots got up to 40.
42-13 over Carolina. I mean, it's Carolina. Say what you want about that.
But I mean, that's the thing. You say that about the Saints, too. And the Patriots went out and did what the Bills should have done to the Saints.
Well, I guess look at it this way. Drake May was 14 of 17. He barely threw the ball, but he had 203 yards on those and had 2 touchdowns. Diggs goes over 100 yards, right?
Oh,
and then the rest of it was kind of just tossing it around. And then, they're running the football okay too, I guess. Nothing huge. Stevenson, 38 yards. Henderson, 32. Gibson, 27. It's like the old Patriots, right? You just run out 25 different running backs.
Yeah.
And somehow they're all good.
We'll
Named
see.
Danny Woodhead.
Danny Woodhead, great pull.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we said it all summer and all spring that I thought the Patriots were going to be improved. They're 2-2. I think they're better. I like Mike Vrabel, old school. I thought for anything about Mike Vrabel, he was going to get the culture right there.
Yeah.
Whatever you say about style, that sort of thing. Remember those Titans teams? I mean, some of those teams would bludgeon the Bills with Derrick Henry. Maybe the common denominator there is Derrick Henry.
I think that's more of it than Mike Vrabel.
Right, but nonetheless, they're seemingly headed in the right direction. I like what Drake May did, especially today. Very, very efficient. His passer rating, 155.6, pretty darn good. So Bills will have their hands full. Patriots will want to come in here, knock them off. Think about how those players have felt the last few years under the thumb of the Bills and Josh Allen.
Yep.
So I would expect a nice test on a primetime game.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that during the week and a special announcement for the podcast coming up during the week. If you have Spectrum News 1 in Buffalo and Rochester, we will be re-airing our Wednesday podcast that previews the Bills going up against the Patriots on the news channel side of things. So it will be on regular TV. It'll be from 9 to 10. So you'll get a chance to watch the podcast in its entirety sitting down. I mean, let's be honest. We all just watch YouTube on our TV anyways, but this is just another added element for people to get out there and see what we're doing.
Look, we've had a lot of success, a lot of fun with viewership, and our crew on the Buffalo End Zone post-game show on TV, and we wanted to give fans even more avenues to watch what we do. And so we take what we do on the podcast where Kevin and I are in the studio. It's usually on what we call Media Day, which is the big practice day of the week for the Bills when Sean McDermott talks, Josh Allen, we start to get the injury updates, and we'll do that podcast, and then you'll be able to watch it on TV as well. And it's not just us two talking. There'll be video that goes along with it from practice and those sorts of things. Just if you watch this on YouTube, same kind of deal. So you'll still be able to watch it on YouTube, on Facebook, those live streams, as well as all the audio channels, the platforms where you get it, whether that's through our website at spectrumlocalnews.com, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. However you get this and consume it, you still can, but now you can watch it on TV if you want.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. And
9 o'clock Wednesday night.
9 to 10 on Wednesday night. And then that's probably going to go as far as media days go for the Bills throughout the rest of the season.
Absolutely. We are really excited. We've had so much fun, especially these last couple of years, as the Bills have gotten so good and become a contender. We just understand and are learning every day that fans want more and more and more, and we're going to try to give it to you as best we can.
Yeah, thank you, Josh Allen, for helping us out.
Right. Keeping us all employed and the lights on.
I didn't want to go there, but yeah, there you go, Andy. All right, Andy and I will be back coming up on Wednesday as we get you ready for another primetime game, Bills at Patriots. As always, thanks for joining us, everyone.